Chicagoland weather forecast. Windy, clouds and sunshine, high 73. Windy and mild, 62 overnight. Clouds and 67 at O'Hare, 62 in Aurora, 64 in Kankakee, and 67 Lakefront. Your next news update is at 8. Chicago's Morning Answer continues next on AM 560. The Answer.
Now, from the Signature Bank Studios. Only the biggest stories, only the biggest guests, and only the biggest opinions. This is AM 560, The Answer.
Top of the morning, Dan and Amy. So the 5-count indictment against New York City Mayor Eric Adams revealed yesterday. Count 1, conspiracy to commit wire fraud, federal program bribery, and to receive campaign contributions from a foreign national. Count 2, wire fraud. Count 3, solicitation of contribution by a foreign national. Count 4, solicitation of contribution by a foreign national. Count 5, bribery. And I know there's been a lot of focus, including by some conservatives of sorts, that this is, all because he dared to criticize the big guy when it came to the open borders policies. And this clip that's circulating from a couple of years back.
Support. And let me tell you something, New Yorkers. Never in my life have I had a problem that I did not see an ending to. I don't see an ending to this. I don't see an ending to this. This issue will destroy New York City. Destroy New York City.
Yeah, and he goes on about the migrants that were being shipped up from the border to New York City. Here's the problem. Not to say that there are non-political elements to the prosecutorial discretion in matters like this. Number one, Eric Adams is a charlatan. He wasn't like he was opposed to the open borders policy. He was opposed to the open borders policy where he had to come up with the resources to support all the people being dropped off in New York City.
It's a sanctuary city.
He didn't propose repealing the sanctuary city designation.
So he brought it upon himself.
He continued. He just said, we need more money. We need more money. We need more money. He was about authentic on immigration as handsy Andy Cuomo was on COVID. That's number one. Number two, if you actually read the 55-page indictment, which I'm assuming folks like Tommy Lahren did not, it reads, and again, I'm not suggesting that the federal prosecutors are beyond reproach. We've learned that that's not the case either. But the allegations are not that he was just the top of the pyramid. The allegations are that he was orchestrating this illegal activity.
And then trying to cover it up.
That for nearly a decade, Adams sought and accepted improper valuable benefits such as luxury international travel, including from wealthy foreign business people, at least one Turkish government official seeking to gain influence over him. This had been going on for some time. It alleges in the indictment he sought and accepted legal contributions in the form of straw contributions, that he compounded the gains from the straw contributions by using them to defraud New York City and steal public funds, because New York City has a matching funds program that matches small dollar contributions from individual city residents with up to 8 times their amount in public funds. That public campaign financing is a problem, but hey, that's the program, and so now he's defrauding the program at another level. He sought and received other improper benefits from some of the same co-conspirators who funneled straw donations to his campaigns. This is where he's getting travel to destinations.
Like Sri Lanka, Dubai, China, Turkey, business class, luxury hotels when he gets there.
And then also, too, that he was the one orchestrating the cover-up of it. Again, reading from the indictment, Adams did not disclose the travel benefits he had obtained in annual financial disclosures he was required to file. Sometimes Adams agreed to pay a nominal fee to create the appearance of having paid for travel that was in fact heavily discounted. Other times Adams created and instructed others to create fake paper trails, falsely suggesting he had planned to pay for travel benefits that were actually free, deleted messages others involved in his misconduct, including in one instance assuring a co-conspirator in writing that he always deleted her messages. So, right, there have been these FBI raids over the last several years and kept closing in on Eric Adams, and now they've closed in. So I'm not to say he's the only one with unclean hands in New York City, New York State politics, the only one with unclean hands when it comes to campaign finance. But the idea that these charges are just trumped up because he was critical of the Biden administration for not drop shipping enough cash to New York City to sustain the influx of illegals, that's a bit silly, it seems to me.
And on his way out of his residency yesterday, he wasn't met with open arms by some residents of New York.
This is not a black thing. This is a youth thing. This is a youth thing, Eric Adams. This is not a black thing. Your policies are anti-black. You are a disgrace to all black people in this city. The things that you have done are unconscionable. You hurt our schools. Our streets are dirty. Our children are harassed by the police. This is ridiculous.
It's not a black thing, it's a youth thing. For more on this and matters related to the big guy, speaking of him, please be joined by Miranda Divine, New York Post columnist, Fox News contributor, national best-selling author of Laptop from Hell. Her new book, The Big Guy, How a President and His Son Sold Out America. Maybe a forthcoming book, The Little Guy, How Eric Adams Sold Out New York City. Miranda Divine, thanks for joining us. Appreciate it.
Oh, thanks for having me. Great to be with you.
So, I mean, just before we get to your book and the Biden crime family, I mean, since you're so close to it, the Eric Adams saga reaches its denouement. What's your perspective on why he's in this predicament?
Yeah, I'm completely with you. And I think it can be two things. I think certainly that Eric Adams enraged the Biden regime when he decided that he would speak out against migrant crisis, which is really burdensome for New York. I mean, it's costing about $5 billion so far, and New York really can't cope with it. So he did speak out, but as you said, all he was complaining about was that he wanted more money. He had no problem with New York being a sanctuary city. He was sending concierges down to meet the buses at the Port Authority terminal, shaking hands of each migrant or illegal migrant when they got off the bus and welcoming them here. So he hasn't got a problem with illegal migration. He's just got a problem with the fact that it was going to make him look bad because he wasn't going to have the money to spend on services like he'd promised. And so I think it is true that he enraged them, and therefore someone sicked the Southern District or the FBI onto him. And then when they looked under the rocks, they found a lot of smoke, let's say. So I guess he's innocent until proven guilty. But these allegations are pretty serious, and we can't excuse a politician selling out allegedly his office to foreigners. And this is exactly what I've been writing about with the Biden family.
Yeah, and just with Eric Adams too. I mean, he said some wild things over his short tenure as mayor. I mean, he on again, off again plays the race card. He walks around like he is a member of a royal family. He's talked about sort of being the most important. I can't remember, this is paraphrasing. The most important black politician in America and things like this. It's just he just seems that he is. I mean, he's sort of a little bit more buttoned down, but sort of cut out of the Al Sharpton model of politician.
Yeah, I mean, he sort of travels everywhere with an entourage. He dresses incredibly lavishly. He's constantly seen after dark. Like it seems like he just thrives at 3 a.m. He is a fixture at a nightclub downtown called Zero Bond. You know, I was at a dinner that he was supposed to be at as sort of the special guest of honor up on stage. It was like a roast it's for the New York Press Club. And he arrives late, doesn't bother sitting down for dinner like everybody else. I mean, even the dreaded Bill de Blasio used to sit there for dinner. And Eric Adams sort of swans in, goes up on stage, does this very unfunny shtick, and then leaves to go to the nightclub. So he sort of hasn't endeared himself to New Yorkers. But I will say in his defense, he has been better than Bill de Blasio, which is not hard.
No.
In terms of crime and homelessness. He slightly cleaned it up. Not great, but it was a little bit better under him. And the illegal migrant crisis has just thrown everything for a loop.
Well, with an ego like that, he's not going to resign, but Governor Hochul, she can take him out, right?
Yeah, but I mean, as if she's... look, there is a fantastic interim man standing in the wings, and that's John Katzimatidis, who's the owner of Gristedes and like a billionaire businessman in New York. Absolutely loves this city. He also owns WABC Radio. Loves this city, is incredibly competent. I think would do it. And you know, there's no way that Adams can cope with all the problems that New York has while defending himself. You know, if he's innocent, go for it. But he has some pretty serious allegations that he's up against, just greed and graft and corruption. And I don't think that, you know, America can cope with so many politicians who are corrupt. And certainly New York can't do that. So he should step aside, allow John Katzimatidis to come in, clean up the city. And then, you know, if Adams is proved to be innocent, then I'm sure Katzimatidis would be quite happy to stand aside.
Speaking of, you know, political crime families, let's check out your new book, The Big Guy, How a President and His Son Sold Out America. What's your perspective on the machinations behind Hunter accepting that plea deal in the tax fraud case, and how you anticipate that will play out in terms of the larger picture of how this family operates and what Hunter is protecting?
Look, I think Hunter pleading guilty is the last thing he's ever wanted since this investigation in Delaware first began. It first was launched at the end of 2018. So it's been a very long saga, and it was stretched out by the malfeasance of the DOJ, Department of Justice, in slow walking, obstructing, just putting every obstacle in the path of the investigators, who were so honest, two of them, the IRS investigators, that they became whistleblowers. And so rather than getting the sweetheart plea deal that he had anticipated and that his lawyers had worked out for him with the prosecutors, he then got charged in Delaware with gun felonies and in California with tax felonies. And even though the indictments were much less serious than they would have been, because the DOJ had allowed the most serious charges to lapse for 2014 and 2015. Despite that, there was a new set of prosecutors brought in after the whistleblowers created a scandal, and it became impossible for the old prosecutors to stay on. And those new prosecutors, they managed to slip into the indictment in California the evidence from those most serious years, 2014, 2015. And that was when Hunter was being paid by Burisma, the corrupt Ukrainian company that was giving him $1 million a year. And when his father was vice president and had the prosecutor that was investigating Burisma in Ukraine forced the Ukrainian president to fire him. So that is a very sort of perilous time for Joe Biden. And so far he's managed to navigate it perfectly. He managed to get Donald Trump impeached for his sins. And that was all going to come to fruition and out in the public, embarrassingly for Joe Biden, in a California court. So I think that the prosecutors forced Hunter Biden's hand, and he didn't plead guilty until the very last minute on the first day of the trial, which would have angered the judge, I would imagine, who seemed a pretty straight shooter, because he's had to amass a larger than normal jury pool because of his Hunter Biden's high profile. There was all the extra security. There was the fact that, there was at least a 2 to 3 week trial had been mapped out. And Hunter could have come to a plea deal at any time before this, in the months before the trial was underway, and yet he didn't, because he was stubborn and because he's never been held accountable in his life. Yeah. And he wasn't going to plead guilty to anything because he's constantly maintained his innocence. And so to plead guilty just puts a lie to all his lies.
But don't you think his father was going to pardon him before he leaves office, despite what he says that he's not going to?
Exactly. I was just about to say that ultimately he's not going to be held accountable because Joe Biden, I'm sure in the lame duck period after the election, no matter what the outcome is, he's going to pardon his son, even though he said, oh, no, I won't pardon him. I mean, there are people who say, oh, well, he'll probably just commute his sentence. But I don't believe that, because that would mean that Hunter has a criminal record and that he would lose his law license. And I don't think that they want that to happen. No, they want the whole caboodle. They're greedy. And so Joe Biden will make up excuses, and the media will totally exonerate him. They will say, oh, Joe Biden is just a family man. He loves his son. He's had so much grief in his life. How can you begrudge him? And they'll say, anyway, it wasn't fair because Hunter was targeted by the DOJ in a political coup, which, I mean, the opposite is the case. He was actually protected and cosseted. But believe it or not, that is his story right now, that he's innocent, but that he's the victim of weaponization of the DOJ.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. I mean, I don't expect it will ever get to sentencing. He can pardon him before sentencing and just get rid of the whole matter altogether. Miranda Divine, New York Post columnist, Fox News contributor, national best-selling author of Laptop from Hell. Her new book that we were just discussing is The Big Guy, How a President and His Son Sold Out America. The Big Guy by Miranda Divine. Miranda, thanks so much for joining us. Appreciate it.
Thanks for having me.
Thank you. Good luck with the book. And she joined us on our turnkey.pro answer line.
The stories you need to know to start your day. This is Chicago's Morning Answer on AM 560.